name is Antoinette Scott. I am with the GSA's Information Technology category. I will be the moderator for today's event. Allow me to share the objective for today's small business event. The objective is to inform, educate the small business community of all opportunities in obtaining a contract with GSA in offering artificial intelligence capabilities to the federal government. Here is what is on the agendas for today's event. Dwayne Carter will be discussing the GSA's Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization, referred to as OSDBU across the government. Hilary Taylor will be discussing ITC and emerging tech. And Neil Chardry will be doing an overview on AI and the small business community. Brian Gladney will discuss Fast Lane. Dervin Diggs will be discussing Springboard. And then we'll have a Q&A discussion and closing remarks by Dwayne Carter. At the end of today's presentation, there will be a panel discussion. Any questions you may have to the presenters, please post in the chat. They will be addressed during the panel discussion. I would like to let you know that I have so many great things to say about the presenters. However, due to the limited time, I have gathered a short synopsis of things I would like to say. To start, I would like to introduce Dwayne Carter, National Director, GSA National Small Business Advocacy and Engagement Division. Mr. Dwayne Carter served as the National Director with the Office of Customer Care and Outreach Division under GSA's Office of Small Business Utilization. In this role, Mr. Carter leads a team of small business specialists who advocates for all socioeconomic categories of small businesses, providing training, counseling, and subcontracting review to help small businesses navigate through the federal process and to ensure that small businesses are well represented. Now, I will hand over to you, Mr. Carter, to make your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Antoinette. Good afternoon. As Antoinette has said, my name is Dwayne Carter, and I am the National Director of GSA's National Small Business Advocacy and Engagement Division. This division falls under the GSA Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization, as Antoinette said earlier, referred to as OSDBU across federal government. This is one of many small focus events that OSDBU will support around the topic of artificial intelligence. We want to support small businesses and increase government access to small businesses that offer products and services in the artificial intelligence and data analytics. Before turning the program over to my colleagues in the Office of Information and Technology category, I want to take this opportunity to outline the assistance that OSDBU can provide. The Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization is your small business advocates. Our mission is to ensure that small businesses, including small disadvantaged business, women-owned small businesses, service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, and HubZone certified businesses have the maximum practical opportunity to participate in our work as prime contractors and subcontractors. As an organization, GSA places a lot of importance on guiding IT service providers and forming relationships and doing business with the federal government. With that in mind, the name of our next generation government-wide acquisition contract, known as GWAC, is Polaris. This GWAC represents another step forward for the next generation of IT services-based solutions from GSA. Polaris will not only guide small businesses through the federal market, it would also help GSA customer agencies through the acquisition of IT service-based solutions and give GSA a chance to improve our offering and set the agency on a solid course for the future. GSA Small Business GWAC have supported agencies in meeting their small business goals for more than 2 decades. We want to build on this success by looking at the small businesses to increase opportunities for hub-zone and woman-owned small businesses. GSA is also eager to engage with industry about the possibilities of providing life cycle opportunities on GSA contract vehicles for small businesses as they grow and mature. The Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization, OSTBU, has long been a valued resource to small businesses community. We recognize that small businesses fuel the nation's economy and sincerely welcome our responsibility to provide the support and communicate the needs and expectations. As with past GWAC launches, GSA is equipped to help prospective GWAC partners familiarize themselves with the process. GSA's OSTBU team helps with small businesses better position themselves for available opportunities by providing training and resources. This includes free virtual training on creating a federal market plan and identifying customers through the Federal Procurement Data System, known as FPDS. I encourage you to join the Small Business GWAC community of interest, located on our GSA Interact page. This webpage provides a platform of small businesses to engage on topics related to all GSA Small Business GWACs. At this point, I'd like to turn it back over to Antoinette, and we'll proceed through the program.
Thank you, Mr. Carter, for such an informative presentation. Now, I would like to introduce the next speaker. Ellery Taylor, Director of Innovation, Division ITC. He will be speaking on ITC and emerging tech. Ellery Taylor is the Director of Innovation Division within GSA Office of Information Technology category. The Federal Acquisition Service provides buying platforms and acquisition service to the federal, state, and local governments for a broad range of items, from office supplies to motor vehicles to information technology and telecommunication products and services. As an organization within FAST, ITC provide access to a wide range of commercial and custom IT products, services, and solutions. Now, I will turn it over to you, Mr. Taylor, to make your presentation.
Thank you so much, Antoinette. As she has so graciously said, my name is Ellery Taylor, and I'm the Director of Innovation, and I'm working in the Office of Acquisition Management. And basically, what we do for the information technology category is just a host of various different technology areas and solutions. And what I'd like to do is to kind of just talk about all the great things that we're doing here in the information technology category in the way of emerging technology. The Office of Information Technology category within GSA's Federal Acquisition Service delivers flexible IT solutions and services, supports agency missions, and drives innovative and agile improvements through the IT category management principles. ITC's top priority is to maximize customer value and mission productivity by providing all agencies a suite of solutions at any maturity level using our technological and acquisition expertise. What many folks do not know is that GSA ITC actually facilitates more than $26 billion in annual government spend. We actually ensure a consistently excellent customer service experience at all stages of the acquisition process, while serving 98% of the federal agencies in the area of IT. Working with agencies to define better requirements, reduce procurement action lead time, boost innovation, and improve data transparency. ITC uses robust and transparent qualitative as well as quantitative data analytics, including market research, to help agencies to better make informed business decisions. We lead a government-wide category management office by providing best practices and applying leading-edge solutions. We can deliver better services to fellow agencies and taxpayers by making it easier for you to do business with our suppliers, thereby enhancing agency missions and reducing the total cost of IT ownership to the agencies. ITC has provided nearly $2 billion in savings to its customers through our efforts. And we're continuing to work with agencies and suppliers to make emerging transformative technology and innovations available government-wide while fostering small business participation. One of the things that we do within the small business community is we have actually won approximately $6.6 billion of spend, which is actually 28% of the total dollars won through ITC. Next slide, please. In the area of IT modernization, the modernization of the federal government's IT infrastructure and applications is an important priority for GSA. In addition, IT modernization is one of the 3 key drivers of reform in the recently announced President's Management Agenda. We are supporting government-wide modernization in 4 ways. First, in partnership with the President's Office of American Innovation, GSA's Technology Transformation Services, TTS team, has stood up IT Modernization Centers of Excellence. Second, we are leading half, which is 25 of 50 of the key initiatives identified in the report to the President on federal IT modernization. Third, we are well positioned to support the operation and administration of recently approved Technology Modernization Fund. And fourth, and finally, GSA is modernizing and simplifying the systems we use to serve our agency customers in the acquisition of $50 billion in goods and services annually from more than 20,000 industry partners. Next slide, please. Let me give you an idea of some of the success stories that we have had and experienced within our organization. One of the first that I'd like to mention is how we have used AI within our organization to provide streamlined improvements in the mass proposal and modification review process. And we call this the virtual acquisition virtual assistant. GSA is using AI to make sure that agencies comply with Section 508 through its solicitation review tool. And then 18F has developed a chatbot. And this is allowing interactive and better user experience for onboarding of new hires. Some of the areas that we have actually utilized with some of our contracts in the DoD realm have also helped to improve machine learning to actually predict military readiness for deployment, as well as one of the very important areas dealing with the expanding role of preventing and helping DoD to assist in suicide and substance abuse programs. And that's being done through the Office of the Secretary of Defense Comptroller's Division. Next slide, please. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm painting a picture of our organization, the contracts that we have, the mission areas where we support across the entire federal government. And basically what I would do, and this is Ellery Taylor putting on my hat as a warranted contracting officer in the federal government. And I'm basically have done this many, many times. I'm gonna do it again. So I'm gonna invite all of you, and I think we've reached out to hundreds of you to participate in this forum as small businesses, and just to kind of echo and reinforce some of the comments that were made today. We fervently would like to seek out your participation in emerging technologies as small businesses. And GSA has a very keen desire in fostering and supporting the small business community. And what I would like to do is I'd like to ask you to make your marketing as well as capability statements available to our organization so that we can reach out to you and inform you of some of the things that we're doing in the area of emerging technology. We have lots of contract vehicles like the 8A STARS. We just mentioned the contract that we're working on dealing with Polaris. This is a government-wide acquisition contract, as well as the IT schedule contract. And the IT schedule contract employs thousands and thousands of vendors that fill all the various different socioeconomic categories. One of the ways that you can do this is to submit to us, and we'll provide you with that information later during this this presentation. But we would like for you to share with us your one-pagers. And if you have one-pagers that kind of summarize your capabilities, we would like for you to share those with us. We also would like to have any types of capability documents that demonstrate your accomplishments, and please feel free to share those with me as well. We're also looking for any sample videos that you have that would actually rather tell and would actually show rather than to tell your capabilities. However, one of the really big things that we're doing here is we're strictly encouraging that anyone that does submit any types of video submissions are not overly professional or resemble any video productions. We're simply interested in your technical capabilities. I am done with my portion of the presentation, and what you will hear in the remaining portion of this presentation will deal with the things, the mechanisms that we have established, like the fast lane and the Springboard, that will help to facilitate your process and your journey with the federal government and actually assist you in obtaining a contract with GSA.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. We greatly appreciate such an outstanding presentation. Thank you. The next speaker today is Anil Chandri, Director of AI Implementations Artificial Intelligence Center. He will be speaking on AI and the small business community. Anil Chandri has over 20 years of progressive leadership experience in technology, delivery, operations, and program management in the defense, intelligence, and national security sectors. As a core member of the Artificial Intelligence Center of Excellence, Mr. Chandri advises federal agencies on establishing mature data governance and management practices, developing innovative approaches for leveraging data as a strategic asset, and laying the foundation for advising data discovery, access, and use through artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now I will turn it over to you, Mr. Chandri, to make your presentation.
Thank you so much, Antoinette, for those kind words. And thank you to the rest of the panelists for allowing me to participate in such esteemed company. And, you know, I want to preface this by saying I've been doing this for a while. And just like Director Taylor mentioned and Director Carter, the most important thing that we are trying to accomplish is increase the number of vendors, small business and disadvantaged vendors in this new and emerging space. We want to make it more comfortable for you so you are more comfortable competing for the contracts, the emerging contracts. So without further ado, we can start with my agenda. I really want to break my presentation. It's a little technical in nature, so I want to break it into 4 sections. Really talk about where I sit in the Artificial Intelligence Center of Excellence at GSA, where we manage federal-wide AI initiatives. Just a general state of artificial intelligence and machine learning in the, in the public and private sector, and then followed by specifically the state of AI in the federal government, followed by a quick conclusion. So without further ado, the next slide. So before we begin, I just wanted to ask the participants on this poll if we could take a quick poll of how many of you are familiar with the Technology Transformation Services Office and the IT Modernization Centers of Excellence within the Technology Transformation Services. So I'll give it about a minute and we'll see where the voting lies before we begin. Very excited. Thank you. Wow, this is very good. So this actually, I'm encouraged by this result, which means that our engagement efforts will actually result in some meaningful interaction today. About 75% of you were unaware that the GSA actually had IT modernization centers of excellence that are working with our federal partners to bring on industry on board. Next slide, please. So I wanted to talk to everybody about the Artificial Intelligence Centers of Excellence and what our mission is. So our mission is to accelerate technology modernization across the government to improve the delivery of citizen services and public experience. And the way we do this is we partner with industry subject matter experts to solve agency problems in the following functional areas: artificial intelligence, cloud adoption, contact center, customer experience, and data and analytics. And the key here is that we use industry subject matter experts to help government solve the problem. And that is what we're hoping that you will, this is the path that you will pursue. Next slide, please. And the way we do this is we use a human-centered design to identify and validate the needs and priorities of key stakeholders. We use agile development methodologies, so we deliver products to our partners every 6 months or so. So, the opportunities for contracting are quite often and quite frequent. So it's not like it's a 5-year contract and you have to wait out a 5-year term. We're really moving in an agile way, so there'll always be contracting opportunities in the fields of artificial intelligence that you should be seeking in the federal market space. Next slide, please. And this is a snapshot of where the COEs and the technology transformation services are making an impact right now. This is a very dynamic list, but as you can see, we're working with about half of the U.S. federal government agencies, and about 5 different departments. So we have a very wide scope, and what we're hoping that is that we can introduce you as a result of these sessions, after you provide your material to Director Taylor, is that we can start introducing you to federal agencies where you can help them solve their own problems. Next slide, please. So at this point, what I want to do is segue into where AI and machine learning is, because I've had a couple of pre-questions come to me that says, I don't even know where to start. So some part of this presentation will actually cover that. And then we'll always be ready to assist you follow on with how to best help yourself. And that includes working with Director Carter and Director Taylor's organization soon. So really what I want to talk about is, where we are. We started off with, in the federal workspace, using industry to help with network management, then into sort of microservices such as email, video services, a couple other microservices like identity management. Then, smartphones came all over the place. They got very popular. Federal agencies started developing standalone apps, and we partner with many industry partners to help create custom applications for our federal partners. Those include things that allow truck drivers to, for instance, certify their weights while driving, so they don't have to pull in the weight stop. We have other services where you could check your appointment time at a certain agency. There are other things where you could submit pre-filled forms while crossing the border. So a lot of applications out there designed for a mobile environment. And as our world has started to get more complicated, we have also leveraged our industry partners to help create meta tags to all our data, so we can sort and clean our data and draw more meaningful conclusions. And the most recent emerging area in artificial intelligence that's growing is this area of contextual enrichment, where we're taking data, but we're adding geospatial markers to it and temporal time-based markers. So, to help create network graphs. So it's a very exciting time to be in government, but if you are already familiar with how to deliver network services or network support, microservices, your organization has some familiarity with data management and applications, you are a very good prime candidate for what we're looking for to help federal agencies. Next slide, please. And as you can see, even in the machine learning space, there is a tremendous amount of opportunity. Obviously, your organization can't do everything, and you can pick and choose. There's enough here that you can pick and choose. You can choose to get better at image classification, doing analytics for customer retention, a little bit of forecasting, predictions, process optimization, strategic planning, marketing, customer segmentation, recommendation systems, visualization, discovery, data discovery. So there's a lot of things you can do in the machine learning space and still get enough government work to make it worthwhile for your investments. Next slide, please. So just another quick poll here, just so that I can get a really good idea of how many participants in today's webinar are already delivering software products and solutions to the government, to our government partners. And we'll wait a couple of seconds to see how the polls are proceeding, and hopefully we'll see the results pretty soon. So wow, okay, we have a lot of our participants today delivering software products and services using cloud environments. So this is very exciting, that and encouraging that it's a great opportunity. We can help you, in ways to help build your business. Next slide, please. So this is the last sort of piece of, where your mindset needs to be organizationally, as you're thinking about government work. So if your organization is familiar with a lot of these tools, you're in a good space. And what I'd like to caution you, this slide is only about 3 years old, less than 3 years old. And within the last 3 years, technology has evolved so fast. So where you see the AWS Amazon Web Services, Now it's not just enough to be an expert in AWS cloud-based delivery. You have to be able to also concurrently deliver over a hybrid cloud strategy, which means being able to deliver in a Google Cloud or on an Amazon Azure or in an IBM Red Hat OpenStack environment. So, technology is morphing, but these principles are still the same. And, the thing is that if you're recognizing these tools, you're recognizing this graphic, you are one of the sort of companies that we're looking for to expand in the AI workspace. Next slide, please. So, and this is where, to sum up, we're looking at, areas where, technology is mature, but we still like to partner with private sector and industry, is task management, process management, RPA development, bot development, chatbot development, business intelligence, where we're working on reporting, and then also on predictive and prescriptive analytics. These are pretty mature fields, but there's also a lot of work out there in the federal space in these areas. Now, there's some emerging areas that are still growing. I can't speak, with any certainty of how much work there is in these, but there's, emerging AI fields, especially, in speech synthesis, recognition, sentiment analysis, understanding when, somebody leaves a voicemail. Is that an angry voicemail? Is that a happy voicemail, right? Image classification, optical mark, which means signature recognition for fraud-based activities, augmented reality, so that, folks can actually see where they need to be if they're, looking at the right building to go in to get some services, or, if they are looking at how to fix an engine, they have a virtual engine right there where they could see how to tear down that engine while working on a real engine. Chatbots, semantic translation, so that means basically being able to naturally translate, English to another language or another language to English dynamically. Intelligent assistants, relationship mining, automated learning, synthetic media. So it's a really an open space, and it's a very exciting space. And the key point here is there's enough work for everybody. You just have to sort of pick and choose where you want to specialize. The next slide, please. So now I want to segue into specifically AI in the federal government. And next, please. So really what I want to talk to you at this point is about the 4 sort of phases of AI. And what I really want to get across here is that depends on what your industry, your organization already does, your company already does. You could nicely fit into these functional areas to be able to deliver immediate support to the government. So, if your organization is good with strategy, you could help design use cases, and evaluate use cases and the communications aspect of use cases for AI. If your company already does developmental work, you could help identify, create the development and test environments, and also develop actual algorithms and proofs of concept. If your company is very analytical, you could help the government conduct make versus buy analysis for artificial intelligence products. Same thing with program delivery and support. If your company has some expertise in training, you could provide AI related workforce development training. You could also provide some program office support for AI programs in the federal space. You could also help, especially, if you have experience in engagement. You could help with building external partnerships and strategic engagements for artificial intelligence, across the federal workspace. So there's a lot of work to do, and a lot of this where I might get myself in trouble, right? Is the sins. We talk about all the different functional areas that you could do. There's work in every area related to artificial intelligence. Next slide, please. Now, if you are a technical company and you only have limited resources, it's my opinion, once again, Anil Chaudhary speaking only on behalf of Anil Chaudhary, right? And seeing what he has seen, is that data management and AI model management, that, that configuration control, that sort of systems engineering area is in the technical area. That's where the growth is occurring, is, if you can build a data management expertise that extract, transform, load lifecycle, and the artificial intelligence model management, which means using Docker, Kubernetes, and all these other containerization platforms. That is something that I think would pay dividends, is the area that you can actually build a very niche practice that could be profitable. Next slide. So, once again, as we have talked about, we have heard about, I've thrown a lot of things about you about where federal government is. Now, if you're asking me, where are agencies now? They're all over the place, right? The US federal government has realized that artificial intelligence is a differentiator for the future, not only in defense, but in the, to help deliver better citizen services. So every agency, regardless of size, has something related to AI going on, whether they are preparing to implement AI, whether they're working through use cases, the discovery, where AI is most applicable in their organizations, whether, whether they're doing pilots on whether the return on investment for investing in AI is there, and also in scaling, for the successful AI use cases, how to scale them and share them across federal government. So rest assured, the whole of federal government is involved in AI. Each agency is just at a different point in using AI. Next slide, please. So at this point, just a quick segue and another question, just so that I can continue to understand. And basically want to know, how many of our industry partners online today have operational expertise or understand different government mission sets? Just a good idea, trying to get a good idea. Thank you. And this is very exciting. A lot of you already have great domain expertise, whether it's working for Health and Human Services, whether it's working VA, whether it's working for HUD or DOD. I'm really glad to see that a lot of our, industry partners actually have that operational experience, so they could come in and immediately start assisting their federal partners with implementation of artificial intelligence, because you understand the mission. And next slide, please. And once again, for the folks that don't have that sort of operational expertise, these are some of the general areas in government where that operational expertise comes in, right? Predictive and proactive equipment maintenance. So you have to understand, maintenance cycles in government. Customer service requests, you have to understand some of those processes in government on how, requests go through. Disease outbreak prediction and modeling, everybody is already very familiar with that because that's been in the news lately. Fraud identification and prevention is related to specifically a lot of agencies in the banking, Treasury, IRS, for instance, intelligent call centers, cybersecurity, risk prevention, suicide risk and prevention, for instance, in the VA, right? Disaster assistance, FEMA, DHS. So these are typically a lot of really good use cases across government. And if you already have operational expertise in these, you just need to build your bench a little bit in, the technology space, building your development skills in writing models or managing AI models. Next slide, please. So I know I've thrown a ton out at you, and it's a lot of information. We'll definitely provide this, as a handout after the presentation, and we'll have time for Q&A. we'll have a Q&A session after this. So I'd ask you to bear with me. But what I want you to do is, if you skip through everything else in my presentation, I want you to remember two things. First of all, I want you to, there's room for everybody. It's an emerging field. What I'd say is you can't be an expert at everything. It takes a lot of investment. So you have to pick one or two functional paths and become recognized experts in it. Because a lot of this is, as word of mouth. Whether you want to be better at DevOps, security ops, data ops, machine learning, people operations, cloud operations, or even AI operations, pick one or two areas and become really good at it, become recognized experts in it. Next, please. And really what you want to think about is, the 5 big areas for contracting opportunities in AI, which is development of virtual assistants, development of some physical assistants, knowledge management, knowledge curation, mixed media processing. So being able to build models that can recognize images, sounds, sentiments, being able to develop and manage expert systems, those targeting systems that can do network and link analysis. And the way you really do it, and this is the most critical part of the presentation, if I would say so myself, is you have to get on a government contracting vehicle. The GWACs, I did mention STARS, Alliant, and VETS, and I would also highly encourage everybody to, Director Carter said, get on that COI list, the mailing list that, listserv for Polaris, because that's the one that's up and coming. That will be most important. And you also need to recognize you need to get on a multiple award schedule, such as Springboard and Fastlane, which my colleagues will talk about next. So once again, I really want to thank you for your attention today. And I hope you got something, or at least a general idea of where you need to be in this space in order to compete effectively. And I would really look forward to your questions in the Q&A panel discussions after my two colleagues talk about Springboard and Fastlane. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhry, for such an awesome presentation on AI and the small business community. The next speaker on the agenda is Brian Gladney, Fastlane Branch Chief of Hardware Division Information Technology category. Originally a native of Jackson, Mississippi, Brian Gladney has served as an acting division director, branch chief, team lead, and contracting officer on the Fastlane branch of IT categories hardware division. After graduating from Mississippi State University, Brian began his federal contracting career with the United States Army Corps of Engineers District Office in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Now I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Gladney, to make your presentation.
All right, thank you, Antoinette. As Antoinette said, my name is Brian Gladney. I am the Fastlane Branch Chief located in Region 4 of IT category hardware division here in Atlanta, Georgia. What I'll be discussing with you all today is a little bit of what we're able to offer as an organization to help onboard you to have a multiple award schedule contract. Slide, please. So what is Fastlane? So it's a little bit in what our name is. Our process is we're working together with you all within the vendor community to onboard you to get your multiple award schedule. What we try to do is make sure that we can expedite that process. Normally where a cycle time to get a government contract, it takes anywhere within 110 days. Our group is specifically designed to be able to cut that time frame down significantly to a period of about 30 to 45 days. One of the hangups that we've also noticed as an organization that can burden vendors is trying to make sure that you have this new and emerging technology that you may be willing to offer within a a quick time frame so that you'll be able to meet proposals and things of that nature. Well, the benefit there is we're able to process any modifications that you may offer, whether they be additions, modifications, deletions, pricing adjustments, equitable price adjustments, or any of your options, typically within a 24 to 48 hour period of time. Of course, a lot of that is barring our communication back and forth, as well as any kind of technical evaluations or other protocols that may come along within the option period. That's why it's absolutely essential for us to make sure that we have exactly what we need from you all to be able to process your information through for technical evaluations, which I will speak to a little bit later on, that may directly impact that time frame, as well as I said, any kind of communication that we may need to have. So the main purpose of why Fastlane was created was to make sure, as I said, that we're able to get the most up-to-date emerging technologies on schedule and through our offerings. Next slide, please. So your multiple award schedule will be broken down into what I call different sub-tiers or subsectors of how you would be able to identify what it is that you're able to offer, whether they be a product or a service. They're identified within our system and within the solicitation as SINs, or special item numbers. Here are a couple of the subcategories that these services or products could be broken down into: IT hardware, software, services, and telecommunication. If you take note of where it says formally 132 and then a number, those are the SIN number designations that were formally addressed under our IT Schedule 70 banner. Since the mass consolidation, we have now transitioned over to utilizing NAICS codes. So that's what you'll see here on this slide. Next, please. So here's a continuation of some of those subcategories. It's also broken down into training, IT training, excuse me, electronic commerce, IT solutions, as well as any other of the complementary special item numbers. Typically, the complementary special item numbers are anything that may be a service or a product that we very well may not have a designation for at the present moment, but it does not stop you all as a vendor community from being able to propose those. So that's why you have SINs such as the 132.99 or the 132.100 for the ancillary products or services that you may offer. Next slide, please. So one of the big things that we try to also make you aware of are different initiatives that GSA has going on. One of the prominent ones that you all may have recently heard about was TOGET, or the second generation IT technology blanket purchase agreement. These kind of initiatives are helpful not only to you all, but it also gives us a little bit of flexibility as far as what we're able to offer to our government customers, in that sense of they'll already be pre-competed blanket purchase agreements, which means those government customers will be able to go on directly, be able to purchase directly, and not necessarily have to have any of the competition time to slow down what they need those specific items for. Thus, continuing to enable you to have a prominent turnaround and business time frame as far as what you're able to offer and being able to meet that need. Some of the other initiatives that take place are we as an organization sometimes are contacted directly by different government agencies, whether they be DOD or Department of Defense, or whether they be state and local government. We will work diligently with them in order to help assist onboarding any potential vendors that may be able to meet their needs, and be able to further assist you all in the vendor community with making sure that you'll be seen. One of the major benefits of being able to have a multiple award schedule is the fact that once you are on schedule and have a government issued contract, your information will be out there. It'll be able to be available for anybody who may be able it will be available to any organization that may need to meet a specific need within a certain time frame. And one of the other benefits that I would also mention is once you have that posted price list, instead of you having to go and search for a specific requirement in order to meet your sales, which I'll touch on a little bit later. Also, one of the big benefits are that an organization would be able to post out a generalized RFQ, and you would be prompted through our system that an RFQ is out there that you can compete for. Next slide, please. So there are a couple of guidelines that also are intertwined into what we offer, right? So typically the new offerers that are interested in participating in any of the initiatives and going through the fast lane process will first have to make sure that they check their fast lane eligibility checklist. This checklist will go down everything for consideration of whether or not you meet certain size requirements, whether or not you meet certain parameters within the IT offering world, anything of that nature. This checklist is going to be extremely valuable, and it'll be made available to you for sure, so that you'll be able to kind of look at it and see what the requirements are. In order for us to process everything within a timely manner, we need to make sure that we have all the documents that are included within and addressed within the solicitation as well as within the checklist. So whether they be anything from your price proposal template to your commercial sales indicators, whether they be your past performance information, all of that is extremely vital in order for us to basically do the pre-vetting job for a lot of our government customers and ensure that you are in fact capable of producing what it is that you do. And then at the same time too, it helps from that standpoint from our organization to be able to get you moving through that process so that we meet those time frames that we're committed to, whether it be the 30 to 45 days or whether it be through your modification standpoint of a 24 to 48 hour period of time. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, here are a couple of the new offer required documents. One of the things that you want to have, of course, is your agent authorization letter. A lot of those authorizations, and whether they be you as the company owner or having somebody designated to be able to act on your behalf, they'll be able to negotiate and sign in what we call an authorized negotiation letter, right? So the benefit of that is when you have only one person that may be designated to make all the decisions for the business. The unfortunate side is if you're out of pocket, then unfortunately we wouldn't be able to get your request or process things on your behalf, or if there's a modification or something that needs to be signed, we would need to have somebody designated and authorized through your organization. Well, having more than one authorized negotiator is always going to be a benefit, because if one person isn't available, then there's the next person. Additionally, any letters of supply. If you happen to be selling something that you don't happen to manufacture, that's where a letter of supply comes in handy. A letter of supply is going to be solely brought about so that the company that manufactures the item says that you are an official seller or reseller for that item for them. All of the basically this comes in handy because it works as an additional pre-vetting documentation. Your price proposal template, that'll be where you indicate what you offer commercially for this item or this service that you're proposing, as well as what you be willing to offer that price for at a discounted rate to GSA. GSA is committed, number one, to making sure that when we do review all of this documentation and you are assigned your contract specialist or contracting officer, that we're not necessarily trying to pigeonhole you or put you in a box for a certain price. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that you're going to be competitive within this open market. There are a numerous amount of vendors who sometimes come on the GSA schedule that propose some of the same items or what is viewed within a broader scheme to a lot of these agencies as some of the same kind of services or products. Well, that period during the negotiation is going to be making sure that we put you in the best competitive range so that you'll be able to meet your sales requirements. Sales requirements, by the way, are $25,000 in sales in your first 2 years of having a scheduled contract, as well as $25,000 sales each year after that. Now, the biggest benefit of meeting those sales requirements and making sure that you do it is going to keep you on schedule. If you happen not to meet that schedule pricing, or excuse me, those sales requirements, then what may happen is you may be removed from schedule at that point in time. It does not exclude you for an extended period of time, but what it will do is put you in a position where you'll have to come back out, submit another solicitation, and kind of start the process over again. The biggest portion of that, and I understand that $25,000 to a lot of people may seem kind of laughable within the world of IT. However, there are multiple amount of things that may be able to exclude you from getting that credit. One is making sure that you're reporting those sales to your assigned administrative contracting officer, or your ACO, which will be issued to you at the time of award. So making sure you're reporting that and getting claims for those sales. Some of the other documentation that needs to be included as well are any of your financial statements. So your balance sheets from a historical standpoint, how you operate as a company, how basically just getting your financial footprint. Our finance team is responsible for reviewing that and making sure that they issue to us as contracting officers and contract specialists a pretty much good go ahead, or whether or not something needs to be a little bit more well defined as far as understanding that financial business structure. Additionally, if you're a large business, understanding your subcontracting plan. So how is it that you subcontract out your business to small businesses and anything of that nature. And of course, anytime, especially within the realm of IT, if there are any end user license agreements or EULAs, those are also going to be some documentation that we'll also need to know. That way our legal department will be able to review those terms within the end user license agreement and be able to sign off or issue any revision requests as far as moving forward. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier, the only thing that sometimes can derail somewhat of that time frame, or adjust it, should I say, would be your technical evaluation guidelines. So technical evaluation for a few of these SINs are going to be issued and going to be needed for any of the new or existing GSA multiple award schedule holders. So whether or not you'd be submitting it for the first time within your offer, or if you were issued a contract and you decide to come into, you decide to issue a add SIN mod or an add product mod, and then you would be embarking upon a new service or product, these kind of technical evaluations would need to take place. And the helpful thing to know is, number one, that your contract specialist and assigned contracting officer will help you throughout this process. What we'll do is we'll gather that information, but these are just some of the steps that'll be taken moving forward. Slide, please. So one of the new and emerging markets that we've added within the recent years have, of course, been cloud IT services. Cloud IT obviously is a heavily growing market. So what is typically done within this is we will submit an email with all of your information, your technical response, the platform information, anything that encompasses the makeup of cloud IT professional services will issue to our cloud review team at cloud sin-rfi@gsa.gov. And what they'll do is they'll try to make sure that they go through, if they have any questions or anything that needs further clarification, you'll work along with your contract specialist and contract officer to answer these questions and make sure that cloud team has exactly what they need. Pricing and everything else will also be taken to factor as well. within what is in that comparative market. Slide, please. So this technical evaluation is going to be extremely helpful for the automated contact center, ACCS. So under this SIN, which is going to, of course, house your AI, your chatbot services, anything of that nature, it will have to go through our contact center at GSA email. What you'll provide there will be all of your relevant project experience, as well as your pricing and proposal templates. So basically, just to give us a good understanding of what you're offering through there. Is it something that is newer and more emerging as technology continues to grow? We want to make sure that anyone that we're putting on schedule through these technical evaluations have been pre-vetted in that sense of making sure that everybody is capable of producing, because the worst thing that can happen is we would put someone on schedule who may not be able to provide that service or that product, and then that way a government customer may be depending on that for whether it be our warfighter or whether it be just agency functionality. We want to make sure that when we are putting you out there as a GSA schedule contract holder, that not only are we representing you well, but you're making sure that you're representing us well. Next slide, please. So this last technical evaluation criteria guideline is going to be for cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, as everyone knows, is one of the most emerging markets, as well as one of the more relevant within the last recent years. Now with this one, for this specific SIN offering, I have noticed there has been an extended period of time, whether it be your technical evaluation be a week out or a little bit longer, to a couple of weeks. All of the technical evaluations timeframes are going to be centered around making sure that we have exactly what we need within that cover letter, whether it be the key personnel names, titles, the association with the offer, having those points of contact, as I mentioned, having 5 points of contact is going to be extremely valuable to us within a technical oral evaluation. So it will be a two-part evaluation in the sense that for the first part, we'll be reviewing all of the submitted information. For the second part, there'll be an oral evaluation where you will get on with the cybersecurity team and basically speak to all of the points in which you've indicated through your proposal submission. Next slide, please. So the biggest part that we want to make sure, like anything that I mentioned before, is making sure that for a technical evaluation, you're following all of those fast lane eligibility checklist guidelines. You're including all of the information regarding your company's past performance, what it is that makes your product special. The biggest thing that I always say is the furthest distance between two people is communication, and the same mentality is also transition between the federal government and the vendor community. The biggest thing that we want to do is be able to talk to you when we have a question. When you have a question, we want to be made available so that we can answer those questions. But the biggest thing is we just want to tear down those walls of miscommunication so that we'll be able to clearly and concisely display what it is that you do in your offerings. Next slide, please. So a couple of the important links I want to make everyone aware of is the GSA posted solicitation on BetaSAM. Prior to moving under the multiple awards schedule, we would post our solicitation on fbo.gov. Well, now it's available on beta.sam. So these links will be able to let you go directly there. And this posted solicitation is what I would refer to as somewhat of your contractual GSA Bible, right? So everywhere you need to go as far as understanding the basic structure of FAR regulations, of your requirements, any of those same things that are addressed within your fast lane guideline checklist. A lot of those same things will be within the solicitation. What we've decided to do through that checklist is to consolidate a lot of that information for you, but the solicitation will always be your best guide. It's helping you to move forward through your e-offer process, as well as understanding the makeup and structure of the multiple awards schedule. The next link will be to your e-offer and e-mod. So the e-offer and e-mod link, that's where you'll go into and upload all of your information. Basically, it's where you apply for your proposal package, and then what'll happen is once you submit it, it'll be directed to our office, especially once it's been designated as fast lane specific. Once you've been issued that contract, the beautiful part about that site is you'll go to the exact same site in order to upload any of your modifications. So whether they be those ad mods, those deletion mods, those equitable price adjustments, and even your option years. The great thing is you'll be able to go there and not have a single problem submitting it. But in the event that you have a problem working through that or any part along this process, that's where the next link comes in handy. The GSA Schedule Vendor Support Center. Vendor Support Center is going to be made available to you so that you don't necessarily have to wait directly to work with your CS and your CO, although we in the contractual community are very much willing, able, and ready to help you in any facet that we can. But if you need something quicker and we may not happen to be available, the Vendor Support Center is there so that they'll be able to help you process things through and make sure that your proposal or your modification is able to be processed without any problem whatsoever. Next slide, please. So what I'd also offer to everyone is if you have any in-depth questions, if you have any follow-up questions, even if it's a question as far as now, tell me, what is it about Fastlane again that's so specific and makes you all special? That's where you can always email us at our fastlane@gsa.gov mailbox. It'll come directly into our mailbox, and what happens is it goes all the way to myself as a branch chief amongst the other 2 branch chiefs within our region here, and then also our division director. The great thing about it is it really is a wonderful tool to have it at our disposal that we're able to get those questions directly from you all. And then what will happen at that point is you'll either receive a response or you'll be issued to a contract specialist or contract officer that'll be able to answer those questions specifically geared towards answering any of your Fastlane questions. Next slide, please. So with that being said, I will hand everything back over to Antoinette, and I appreciate everyone's time and look forward to answering any of your questions within the Q&A section. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gladney, for providing such informative information on Fastlane. The last speaker presenting today is Dervin Diggs, Branch Chief Contracting Officer of Information Technology category. He will be speaking on Springboard. Dervin Diggs served as a Branch Chief and Contracting Officer in GSA Federal Acquisition Service Information Technology category. The Information Technology category, previously Schedule 70, offers IT service, products, and solution for federal, state, and local governments. In his role, Mr. Diggs has supported many innovative initiatives such as the Fastlane program and Springboard. Now I will turn it over to you, Mr. Diggs, to make your presentation.
Thanks, Antoinette. Good afternoon, everyone. In addition to the Fastlane program that Mr. Gladney just discussed, the Startup Springboard program is an integral part of GSA's Making It Easier initiative. So what is Startup Springboard? The Springboard program offers tech startups and young companies an alternative to the 2-year experience requirement for the GSA Multiple Award Schedule Information Technology category, which was previously Schedule 70. Some examples of the solutions that we have that you can support on the Springboard program are artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, Earth observation solutions, innovative software, and cloud solutions. Next slide. So you may be wondering, why Startup Springboard? Okay, so the Startup Springboard addresses our customers' emerging technology needs by pre-vetting companies and their innovative solutions onto the multiple award schedule program and into the hands of our customer agencies faster, increases acquisition operational efficiencies, provides greater opportunities for small businesses, and it saves taxpayers money. So by participating in the Springboard program and awarded an IT schedule contract, it will provide access to procurements over $15 billion annually in federal, state, and local agencies. So we're supporting the Springboard program because we've listened to a lot of our industry partners with startup companies with fewer than 2 years experience were wondering why they couldn't get on schedule. So we listened loud and clear over the last few years, and we're trying to support and offer these young companies and startups the ability to get on the schedule program. Next slide, please. All right, so for the technical requirements section of the offer proposal, Mr. Gladney went over previously. So the Springboard companies, you can utilize the following. Company executives and key professional experience can be substituted for the 2 year of corporate experience requirement in the solicitation. Also, personnel's project experience can be substituted for the relevant corporate past performance experience in the technical proposal. Also, you can provide financial documentation that demonstrates your company's financial responsibility instead of submitting the 2 years of financial statements that is required in the solicitation. All right, next slide. So how can you support the Springboard program? So we have on our website, gsa.gov, additional information where you can go in and understand more about the Springboard, Startup Springboard initiative. And we have a guide to preparing the schedule contract as well, which outlines all the required documents and forms and additional information, clauses, also the solicitation as well, that Mr. Gladney talked about previously. Next slide. All right, so who are your point of contacts? So government industry partners, and if you want to learn more, you can contact the Startup Springboard support team at s70springboard@gsa.gov. Next slide. So where to go to learn more information? I previously discussed on our website, gsa.gov, that you can utilize the information on there about the Springboard program, as well as the FastLane program as well. These are additional links to important resources that we have available to everybody to view. We have the IT category Startup Springboard information site. We also have the GSA offer roadmap, which provides a detailed explanation of the different clauses, the required documents, and any information that you see pertinent to our solicitation. And as well, we have the information technology category solicitation as well. Next slide. And that concludes the end of my Springboard discussion. I'll turn it back over to the Q&A section.
Thank you, Mr. Diggs. That was extremely informative. At this time, we're going to conduct a panel discussion with our speakers and to address submitted questions.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So as the questions were coming in to the Q&A, I was just responding. We are capturing your questions. So we have a good amount of time to go through a lot of the questions, so please bear with us. If we're unable to answer your questions, we'll certainly try to follow up. So just starting out with some questions that came in, Ellery, it seems like this one would be suited for you. What are some of the biggest challenges that small businesses face when dealing with the government?
Great. Yeah, I can answer this one. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Oftentimes, small businesses lack the resources that's required to have a huge marketing budget and a huge marketing strategy, and to go and perform a lot of the administrative burden that's required to do the paperwork to obtain a lot of the contracts and participate in a lot of the bidding opportunities. That's basically why we have the programs like the Startup Springboard and the Fast Lane. It's also why we have GWAC vehicles like the 8A Stars, Polaris, VETS to kind of cater to and make it more easier for the small business community to participate. One of the things that the Polaris solicitation is actually doing, and you'll find this out in some of the publications, but there will be on-ramping as well as the opportunity to do to kind of target some of those socioeconomic categories for the procurement actions. So there are a lot of things that we do, realizing that there are a lot of obstacles in the ways of the administrative burden and the difficulty of bidding on, the enormous amount of bids that come out on our websites like FedBizOps. We have listened and we have tried to kind of narrow that gap and to make it easier. Folks like our OSTBU have made websites available as well to kind of make available and make public a lot of those bidding opportunities. And that happens within each of the agencies.
So Ellery, I'd like to just touch upon that as well, is that small business also, if they're not at the prime level, able to handle the solicitation, that they also can do it at the subcontracting level, where they become either subcontracting or maybe even a teaming partner if they are currently on schedule, where they can do a CTA and be a part of that total solution. So there's different windows of opportunity that a small business could have. But as Ellery said earlier, that some of the roadblocks are the resources and things of that sort. But by teaming and partnering and subbing, they still have opportunity to join into that solicitation or that acquisition opportunity.
Thank you, Dwayne, for that. And that actually answered another question that came in as far as teaming agreements. So it seems like that we can check that off as being answered as well. We have another question that came in that seems like it's for Neil. Are there any security requirements to work in AI and ML projects in the government?
So it's a very interesting question. And once again, it's nuanced, right? It's a project-based question. So depending on the project, there are requirements, but a lot of agencies, the work that they do not require security clearances for the type of projects that they do because it's, the data is already available on data.gov. But there are certain agencies in the national security space that will require security classifications and security requirements. So in those instances, what you have to realize is, at least for a AI ML project in government, there's the baseline that everybody has to get a suitable adjudication, security adjudication, every contractor, which means that there are certain fundamentals that need to be met. And as the projects, depending on the agency and the project itself, you could the team members, the contracting team on that project could be limited to people who have, for example, top security clearance. So it's a nuanced question. It's very project specific. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Another question that came in, what is the timeline for Springboard?
All right, so the Springboard timeline. It consists of the regular timeline, which, I know previously Mr. Gladney spoke about Fast Lane and 30 to 45 days of all completed. So the Springboard would be considered a regular offer, which is up to 110 days. But considering if we have received all of the technical components of your proposal and pricing and all the information that has been provided, it will be it can be completed a lot quicker than the 110-day standard award date.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question that came in, do we need to have a GWAC Alliance stars to be available on Fastlane or Springboard vehicles, or are they independent? And let me know if I, need to repeat a question.
I'm sorry, Monique.
Sure, can you repeat that for me? Because
Sure.
I can answer that.
Sure. So the question came in, do we need to have a GWAC Alliance stars to be on Fastlane and or Springboard vehicles, or are they considered independent?
Yes, I can answer that. They are actually independent contracts. And what you'll find is that there is an open period. And I'll give you an example. 8A Stars was previously open solicitation. However, the bidding period for that one has closed. The Polaris is another government-wide acquisition contract, and that one is a contract that is in the works. We have just released the RFI for the Polaris, and many industry participants are awaiting for that solicitation to come out. The schedules contract is another solicitation on the other hand, and it is continuously open, which basically means that you could actually go in to FedBizOps today and actually make an effort to obtain a schedules contract. One of the things that they are doing with the Polaris is that they are entertaining the idea, and you'll see some of this in the RFI notification, is that they are looking at an on-ramp and off-ramp process, whereby in the past the government-wide acquisition contracts were open for a period, then they were closed. They're open and closed. They're kind of looking at that areas as well. So I hope that answers that question.
Thank you, Ellery. Our next question seems to be for Fastlane. How do I designate e-offer, my e-offer for Fastlane?
So the best way to designate your e-offer for Fastlane is when you're going through that e-offer e-mod system, what you'll be doing is uploading all of your relevant information, past performance, all of that. At some juncture throughout uploading that, you can actually click a drop-down box that would you like to be considered for the Fastlane process. So everything is handled directly within that system and scheme. For whatever reason, if you happen not to be at that point in time designated, or you don't get designation, once you get your issued contracting officer or contract specialist, you can just simply confirm with them that you want it to be eligible for Fastlane and just notify us or ask, did you get my notification that I would like to be considered for the Fastlane process?
Thank you. So the next question that came in is AI and machine learning. So Anil, what strategies would you suggest to showcase our capabilities in the artificial intelligence space and machine learning space?
So this is a very interesting question. And, I've had these discussions before where I talk about the fact that, AI and machine learning is a really democratic process. You don't need to invest in a lot of equipment to get this done, right? As your business grows, or as you can just rent more space on a cloud, with a cloud provider. So, the best way to showcase, especially if you don't have any customer-based products, is to go to data.gov, pick a good data set, and demonstrate that you can do something innovative with that data set or those data sets. So that would be a really good way. But if you do have customer projects, obviously with their permission, you probably need to showcase them on your website. Your website, your landing page is probably one of those most important properties on the internet that you will have. And most people will go to that. So, if you have existing projects, showcase them on your websites, and as Director Taylor had graciously offered, you can send some material to his team for further distribution, right? And if you don't have projects, pick up some data, some large data sets from data.gov, and do some innovative things with them, and then just shoot, Director Taylor's team a link to that good work that you do, so that you can demonstrate that you have the capability and capacity and the scale to execute an agency product, in a timely manner. Thank you.
And Anil, to follow up on that question, another one that's come in, do the AI Centers of Excellence have a data scientist in position?
Yes, we have data scientists as part of our permanent staff that help evaluate some of the use cases and also help, our federal partners. So we are all multifunctional in the Centers of Excellence. I, for instance, I'm also very familiar, with the technology stack, and if needed in a pinch, can build data models and AI models. So, and you need to have that experience in order to be able to assist and advise the entire federal government and our federal partners. So yes, we do have technical subject matter experts within the Artificial Intelligence Centers of Excellence. Thank you.
Thank you, Anil. So another question that's come in, it seems like probably Dwayne or Ellery could take this one. Where do we search for AI opportunities?
So I'll start off and then let Ellery or Neil jump in from their customer base that reached out to them. But there's a requirement in the federal space that says that a public law requiring all federal agencies to post their requirements starting in the first quarter all the way up to the fourth quarter. And so we call this the contracting and forecasting opportunities. And so within that information, each agency is required to put each quarter what they're going to be procuring. My small business specialists who review our listing for GSA often look for these opportunities for small businesses to reach out to different agencies, reach out to different small businesses that have inquiring. But everything's got to be loaded into that system in order for the small businesses to be ready to for that opportunity. And so in that forecast, you will find the estimated time period of when they're going to do the procurement. They put a contact on that procurement. Also the small business specialists who they can also reach out to on that procurement. And so all that data information is there listed in accordance to how whichever division or whichever part of the agency is looking to make that buy or need that requirement. Ellery and Anil, I'll let you jump in from there.
Yeah, definitely. As a contracting officer, I definitely agree with everything that Dwayne has said, because we have actually contributed to that report within GSA as well as some of the other agencies that I've served in. One of the things that we do also is we go to a lot of the conferences, and we actually bring some of our bidding opportunities and actually it's the handout from some of those reports in order to communicate those bidding opportunities. Something that I've really found that's very useful, especially as it relates to emerging technologies, is having a collection of use cases, because what happens, and GSA does this quite often, is we meet with a lot of agencies within the federal government, and oftentimes they are not intimately familiar with all of the various different applications of AI. However, what we do is we make them aware of some of those use cases and some of those examples where artificial intelligence has been applied, and then it kind of opens up that avenue and creates that dialogue where they can actually see themselves using that technology to fulfill some of the requirements within their agency. And I don't know, for Neil, did you want to have?
I fully agree with what Director Carter and Director Taylor said. Is that in the federal government, it's about fairness, right? So every business opportunity is posted, right? Is advertised. Now, you might get a ton of information overload sometimes, right? So one of the strategies I recommend a lot to my industry partners is they need to start following some industry blogs, some specific industry, organizations that follow the federal AI trends in federal workspace, so that you can better target. You're not looking at FedBizOps and you're seeing all the solicitations come in and you have to read every single one of them to see if there's something new related to AI, right? If you follow industry panels and you follow some other industry groups, what you can see is, hey, a particular agency is about to put out a solicitation for something in artificial intelligence and and the use case, and you can then find a way to set an alert so when that solicitation comes in. But these are free resources. A lot of the trade there are a lot of trade magazines, trade websites that specifically cater to federal government and AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning in federal government. So it doesn't take a lot to follow those blogs and follow those websites, the federally catered news websites. And that would be another really good strategy to help narrow down your focus, especially when looking for contracting opportunities in the AI space. Thank you.
Thank you all. So we have a question that came in for Springboard. So Dervin, this could possibly be for you. How does the Springboard program help small businesses?
Sure. So the Springboard program allows small businesses that previously could not be afforded the opportunity to participate on the multiple award IT schedule with less than 2 years experience. So GSA has listened to industry the past few years and likes the innovative and emerging technology these small businesses and new startups have to offer our customer agencies. Thanks.
Thank you. Anil, we have a question that came in about blockchain. So bear with me. This is somewhat of a long question, but let me know if I need to repeat. So given that blockchain enables secure storage and sharing of data or anything of value, and AI can analyze and generate insights from the data to generate value, has there been any discussion associated with the use of blockchain technology within the arenas that you mentioned during your presentation?
So, the first thing I would like to say is blockchain is a form of distributed ledgers, right? So that means you have about, in certain instances, you may have 1 million copies of that same ledger in 1 million different places. So no one person can change a ledger and claim it's real. You have other ledgers to validate, and the mathematical probability of changing 1 million records is slim to none. But what that also means is there's a proliferation of multiple databases, right, that you have to access. So blockchain is complementary to artificial intelligence. And, there are blockchain initiatives going on in the federal workspace, a lot of them, especially when it relates to automated authentication of records, right? And the veracity of records. So these are complementary, and AI can be used, and AI is being used, especially in the aspect of fraud detection as it relates to blockchain, to identify, whether the link in the chain is connected, is a proper connection or not. So these are complementary technologies. Both are being explored. Both are part of, this technology modernization across federal workspace. And, there are uses for both of them. Blockchain is very specific. I'd encourage you can look at that as a technology, but you'd still have to develop AI and ML capability. So, today I'm just encouraging people, if you don't have unlimited resources, to try to pick and choose. So, you could definitely, if you're already an expert or you already have expertise in blockchain, continue maintaining that. They're complementary technologies that it's not an either or. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. So we have a lot of questions that are coming in about TUJIT. So maybe a few of you can kind of chime in and answer on that. So questions are coming in as to what are TUJIT BPAs, what defines it, and how do they necessarily get on TUJIT and a BPA?
Okay. Ellery, did you want to take that one? I'm sorry.
Oh no, Phil, go right on ahead. I can.
Okay.
I also wanted to talk about that as well, but
Okay. Yeah. So basically, the second generation IT services, or TUJIT, is it was a system of BPAs that were set in place, as I had mentioned, that would already be pre-competed contracts. So basically, there would be kind of an ordering platform that government customers would be able to go in, use, and just purchase directly from. To answer the second half of it, unfortunately, it's already within the last kind of legs of evaluation. Typically within my slides, I was using it as just as an example of different initiatives the GSA is trying to utilize and do. Although TUJIT is no longer available to basically propose for and get on board for, I'm quite sure, based off of our history as an organization, as well as the innovative nature of IT category, there'll be other opportunities that present themselves. But that's to answer a little bit of what it is, and unfortunately at this present moment, there are no further proposals that they're taking into consideration for that. But stand by, because we're always moving, we're always growing, and I know we would be able to very well much benefit from vendors like you who are interested in getting on schedule.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. Is with the schedules contracts, and under FAR Part 8, they actually encourage agencies to establish blanket purchase agreements. And a lot of times those blanket purchase agreements can be within the agency. They can actually be multi-agency. We have a lot of the contract vehicles that we have utilized within GSA that are actually part of the Best in Class program. And that's where an agency can actually get credit for tiered spend and credit from OMB, the Office of Management and Budget. So I would just encourage you to kind of explore those areas where you can obtain BPAs through the schedules contract, as well as the opportunities with some of the GWAC contract vehicles, because they're exploring areas where the GWAC contract vehicles can lend themselves to some very interesting methods of competition.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So the next question coming in, and this question seems like a lot of you can kind of answer, but what are the security requirements to participate in this opportunity space? In reading that, I'm assuming they may be, asking as far as supply chain risk management, TAA, 508, FedRAMP. But again, the question is, what are some security requirements or what's needed to participate in this opportunity space?
So I'll address, at least coming in as a new offer. That's number one. A lot of these requirements, as far as what's going to make you eligible, as well as any kind of security protocol, is going to be directly linked within that solicitation. It's going to address what it is as far as from a regulation standpoint, what you must meet, your responsibilities there, our responsibilities to you, TAA compliancy, anything of that nature. The solicitation really is, like I said, it's going to be your contractual Bible until you get on schedule, right? And even still afterwards is going to be a good reference point for you to be able to address. Additionally, a lot of the technical evaluations I had spoken to are going to also be kind of that aspect of making sure that those who are capable are going to be put on schedule. Those who may not have that same capability or is designated through those technical evaluations, whether that be through cybersecurity, AI, whether that be through any of those offerings, those technical evaluations are going to be clear indicators of who has the actual capability of providing that from a security standpoint, as well as from an eligibility standpoint. But those are some of the basic ones, at least from my end, that I do know of. I'll reference any of the other panel members who like to comment on it as well. So.
Okay, I think you summed it up on that one, that answer. So thank you, Brian. And Neil, this looks like this came in for you. What about my intellectual property and how it will be used? Do I need to invest in a license or a commercial database?
So, the question of intellectual property is always a very interesting one, right? Is especially when we're talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms, right? An algorithm is really a formula to do something faster, cheaper, better, more efficiently. And that's what your brain came up with. And that's your secret sauce. So, what does that mean to you as a company? And that's where part of, the contract negotiations are talking about data rights, right? And that's a discussion you as a company would have to make a decision when you're negotiating with the government on what sort of data rights you want to maintain and what you don't want to maintain. And it's two ways, because ultimately, the government doesn't want to take ownership of an algorithm, right? Or run an algorithm that they can't update, as new data comes in. So it's both sides. And it's about compromise, and the acquisition regulations actually specify the types of data rights that can be negotiated between the government and and the private industry. And what was the second part of the question, Monique, ma'am?
Sure thing. So, and then the second part was, do I need to invest in a license for a commercial database?
So the other part of that question is, it says it depends, right? So once again, as that solicitation goes out and the type of product that the government is looking for, if the government is looking for, the ability to, match private sector information, information like from, credit bureau or something with information the government has, right? So that would be part of that contract negotiation on whether the government buys the subscription or your organization buys the subscription. So it's once again, it's a value judgment on what you want to invest in. Now, the other aspect of that is, that business development aspect is, the question sometimes I get asked is, do I invest in this database so I understand about it when I am competing for federal work? And I can't answer that question, but it becomes very hard for you, as a private company, I've seen this, is when you don't understand how that private database works and the capability of it, you may spend more money trying to recreate that data on your own effort by just licensing it. So a lot of times that exploration of these private data sets is something that you'll have to discover on your own. And it's a value judgment, but there is definitely value in understanding what commercial databases already exist and what their capabilities are, so that you can build it into a solution that you're offering to the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Anil. So we're going to just take a few more questions. There are a lot of questions that are coming into the Q&A that we may not get to today, but again, we will follow up and be able to respond to those questions at a later time. We do have some presentations or slides that we want to go through, but to touch on just a few more questions, wondering if the AI Centers of Excellence is doing any work with NASA.
I can't speak to the specific projects that the AI Center of Excellence is doing with any particular partner agency, but I can say that we are working with many organizations and agencies such as NASA, and it's just one of those interesting things where, as a lot of you know, unless you have permission from both agencies in order to speak about, the projects, we can't speak about the specific work we're working on. So, but we are working with many agencies across the federal sector, as I covered in my presentation earlier. Thank you.
The next question that we have, is there a sample price proposal template we can refer to formatted of in Excel or some format?
Yes, I can answer that. Within the posted solicitation and a lot of the links, we provide you all with everything that you need. So any of the pricing proposal templates, any of the CSP or commercial sales practices templates, any of those things we offer through our posted solicitation. So there's no need of worry of trying to work from scratch. We provide you everything that you need so that, number one, it'll be helpful for you all once you're trying to implement that information, but even more so to help us with our time guidelines of being able to look at the same structured document and be able to go through it efficiently and effectively.
All right, so the next question, Dervin, seems to be about Springboard. Is AI, cloud, and other emerging technologies considered Springboard under GSA IT category?
Yes, they are. Artificial intelligence, contact call center solutions, cloud software are to name a few. So all of the IT categories that we have under the IT schedule, and they're also represented under the special identification numbers, as everybody knows as SINs, can be considered in Springboard. Thank you.
All right, so we'll take one last question so that we can go through the remaining slides. Anil, this one is for you. As a small business, I don't have any employees who are AI subject matter experts. Are there any strategies you would recommend to help my company develop AI subject matter experts?
So, it's the same issue that we have, in the private sector as we do in the government. There are not enough AI experts to go around. And, you could do one or two things, right? You could pay a premium to get it now, or you could work on building a bench. So I have worked with some really good companies in the past that have worked on building their bench. So what they do is they hire people with the core competencies, operational research, a foundation of mathematics, some basic programming skills, and send them to training, give them opportunity, give them the resources to, get certified in, the Amazon certifications or the Microsoft certifications or, the Red Hat certifications, and allow them to grow within the company. So those are some really good strategies to help build your bench. The other good strategies that have worked really well are hiring interns, from colleges. You work with certain colleges in your area. Majority of colleges that I know now have data science programs. You could reach out to those data science programs and engage in a partnership with the data science programs where, there's a, you could hire either interns, you could hire full-time employees, but there's a way to build the bench, and the only other alternative is to basically pay a premium to get those experts in the system now. But you are going to be competing with a lot of folks, right? As in the federal space, we do compete with the private sector for talent, and it's always been a challenge. And so that's some of the strategies I would ask you to think, maybe a 2-year roadmap and build your bench for the next 2 years so that you can more suitably compete for more work. It's a growing field, so your investments won't go, you won't lose out on your investments. Thank you.
Thank you, Anil. So I am going to conclude the Q&A. For those that did not get their question answered, we will certainly follow up. With that, I will pass it to Antoinette.
Thank you to all the speakers. I appreciate the time and energy the presenter has given to ensure the success of this event. In conclusion, Dwayne Carter will give a wrap-up and final thoughts from today's event.
Thank you, Antoinette. First, I'd like to join you in saying thank you to all the speakers. I thought we gave a great understanding and listing of what artificial intelligence looks for at GSA and how we're looking to enroll that into our programs. Prior to going any further, I would like to take one last poll question to find out more information about how we were able to assist you And this is going to be an ongoing type of event. So what we can learn and glean from this particular event and moving forward. So please take time and just answer this quick question for us. Wow, that is an awesome answer. And again, this is a great start for us to kick off. So we appreciate your participation in it. So moving forward, if I can, I'd like to leave you with a few takeaways that you can take advantage of in moving and finding out if this is the right area and the right position to put your company in. First, we are here to support small businesses around the country. We have specialists that can help you develop a picture of potential procurement opportunities for your specific business through training and education. But we need you to connect with the resources we offer and reach out to us when you need this help. Secondly, we partner with the agencies across the government to bring opportunities for prime and subcontracting. But we need, again, for you to do all your homework to ensure that you are ready for this and we are able to help you to get to that point. It's a team and a partnership, and we're looking forward to joining on both sides for you. Additionally, Ellery has spoke about it and I mentioned as well, and I think Anil also touched upon it, but on October the 16th, GSA posted the requestment for RFI for the new Polaris GWAC. And again, that's on beta.sam.gov under the notice of ID 47QTCB21N001. We encourage all the interesting small business IT service providers to complete the survey included within the RFI. We just want to make note that the RFI remains open. The RFI survey remains open through 5 p.m. on Central Time, October the 30th. We are looking for as many small businesses to jump into this new arena of GWAC and AI opportunities as they can. Again, we feel like this is another great opportunity that GSA is putting forward. Lastly, this is a marathon and it's not a sprint. It's truly a journey for small businesses. But when you harness the data available, review the upcoming opportunities, and create a strategic plan to market your business, you gain a clear path for your ultimate goal and destination to that journey, which will help guide you in every step along the way. At OSBU, we go through the model of small business first. That leads us in our mission of advocacy every day. Please make that connection and reach out to your local GSA OSBU if you have not already. We're gladly able to meet your goals today. I have listed the regional and central office small business specialists that can assist you here at GSA. Again, when we be sending out these slides, you will have that point of contact information, so you feel and whatever your local area is and your small business specialist will be there for you. Again, we thank you for your time. We appreciate you being able to attend this webinar. And again, if anything we can do, we want to make sure we're able to help you with it.